Hey everyone, we're back with another episode of How to Get My Job. We sit down with amazing people within the design and product industry and ask them how their careers started, evolved, and what advice they have for those coming after them. Joining us today is Abdelrahman El Bialy, a senior product designer at Monzo. Hey Bialy, how are you?
Hey Danielle, how's it going? All good, thanks. What about you?
Yeah, I'm really good, although like melting just a bit.
Yeah, I guess we're just waiting for the storm now.
I know. You have had an amazing career journey, which started, I believe, in Egypt, and then you've worked for some amazing companies, Wise and Vodafone, to name a few. And now you're at Monzo, and what would be really great to get from you today is just a bit more understanding of that journey, the different moves you made, and yeah, any other bits of advice and insights you can give us. So let me jump in with the first question, which is, how did you get your first job in product design?
I got my first job in product design in January 2018. And that happened actually after I had graduated and worked for a few years as a graphic designer. So I graduated from graphic design after finding my passion 2 years into university. So I was actually studying engineering. And then 2 years in, I've decided that I want to be a designer. So switched into graphic design, finished that, and then a I worked in advertising and branding as a graphic designer for a few years. I worked for some local Egyptian agencies and some multinational ones as well. And then during my last graphic design job, I was working for a company called FP7. It's a part of McCann Worldwide Group in Cairo.
Mhm.
And while I was there, someone reached out to me. He was called Karim Sahi. And he was like, "Hey, I saw your work. I like it. I'm a founder of this really cool startup. And do you want to be a product designer?" And in my head, I was like, "What is product design?" Like I literally had no idea at the time. I've heard the term UX and UI. I know like very vaguely what it is, but I haven't actually seen it happen before. I was curious, and I asked him more about the company, and we met. And after meeting, we were having kind of an informal interview, I would say. And he was asking me questions, and then I was like, "Excuse me, like, what is exactly product design? Like, I know there's like UX design, UI design, but what is exactly product design?" And he explained the concept to me. He explained it to me very well. And he was like, "You don't have to worry. Like, it's a very junior role, so you can come in and chill and learn. And I'm sure we're going to produce good work together." Um, so I started working with elves in Jan 2018. I was mentored by both Karim Sahi and another individual in the company at the time called Zuhairi. They were both basically the people who made me love product design so much. And from there, I kind of started learning. I started going all over the place to attend seminars and read a lot about product design, kind of like go learn something, come back, implement it, mess it up a little bit, and then go learn a little bit more and come back. So I would say like this first year of working as a product designer was the most intense because I was basically learning and doing the job at the same time. But yeah, like the job just kind of came to me in a way, and I was curious. I wanted to learn, like I wanted to know what this is. The other part, which was a little bit surprising, is that he looked at my work, or they looked at my work, and they have decided that I have the potential to be a good product designer.
Mm.
Although I had a little bit like bits and pieces of digital work, but it was nothing compared to actual product design. So the fact that he looked at my work and the people who worked with him looked at my work and they were like, "Oh, this guy can come and work as a product designer. He can learn." I think this also was really, really interesting.
Yeah, no, that is really interesting. I think seeing, I guess, hiring or taking people on um, by looking at their potential is sometimes something that's not done enough. And I guess on the topic of hiring on potential, it leads quite nicely onto our next question, which is what are the most important qualities a senior product designer could have?
The first thing as a product designer, not just a senior product designer, but as a product designer, is to be a really good communicator. Um, we work in like a really fast industry. Things change overnight, and teams' priorities change overnight, and companies' priorities change overnight. We've seen in the past few months how like the global economy crisis have shifted how some companies are operating. And whatever the plans are, we can just see something and decide, you know what, we're changing all of these plans. And when that happens, communication is key to make these bits of work actually work for us and for the people and for the company. So I would say the first thing is be a really, really good communicator. Talk to people as much as you can. No question is a stupid question. I know it's a cliche, but it's very true. Like understand the context of what you're getting into, and make sure you talk to a lot of people. That to me is like the top quality. And then from there, I would also say curiosity, which I know that this is something we learn a lot as product designers, like be curious. Everyone is going to tell you as a product designer, you have to be curious. But sometimes I think how we perceive curiosity is like we sometimes oversee bits that are really crucial to the job. So for example, I would say that any product designer is empathetic and curious by nature because we are designing for people, right? So whenever we're curious about people. But one thing that we sometimes oversee is curiosity about the tech stack that we're working with, for example. Understanding the tech that we're dealing with, understanding what we're designing on, the infrastructure of our designs, right? So kind of understanding how the backends work, really, really have a deep understanding of that. Side-to-side conversations and like a lot of work with engineers to understand how our designs can come to reality, because part of that is knowing when and how to push our tech stack to change and when and how to keep it as is and design something that would fit in this mold. So I think curiosity about the backends, how the front end work, curiosity about the data. I know that data is like something that product designers look into as well, but I think the most thing that gets overseen sometimes is the engineering side of it. And I think as product designers, we are in a really good position to understand tech, push it, and sometimes say, you know what, like right now we're just going to deal with what we have. So yeah, I think curiosity is another thing. And then the third and last thing, although I can keep going, but the third and last thing is to be an enabler, right? Never a bottleneck for the team or for the individuals that you're working with. And by saying that, I mean, sometimes we see projects where, you know, the engineering effort is like ready to pick up, but the designs are not ready yet, right? So having a good structure within how you perform your job, how you go through the steps, how you go through the process of designing something, and then kind of bulletproofing it a little bit, and then running it by other designers to know, to get their opinions, and like run design critiques with more than one person to get everyone's opinions on things as well. So that when the time comes where the engineers are ready to like pick up, all of this is ticked off. And at this point, you're just helping them move and not really, you know, slowing our flow down or our velocity down, as we say. I'll add one more thing. Like, I think when someone gets to a certain level of seniority, what defines like what's the difference between a mid-weight or a senior product designer? I think by the time people become more senior, they start working not just on things that are happening now, but things that are going to happen in the future. So shaping vision for teams. If you are working in a tech company where you're working in like product teams and you work in sprints, we know that we're always busy. We're always like kind of running to deliver our targets and our objective key results within every quarter or every half. The designer, I would say, alongside the PM and the analyst, we're like kind of the only three individuals that have enough time to think about what can happen in the next 12 months, right? So whatever we're working on now can scale well enough in 12 months and not having to change a whole bunch of stuff in 12 months. And that's going to be more engineering effort and more effort for the team to do the same thing again. And also like working on vision pieces, they can also push people within an organization or within a team to change how they work. So for example, I'll just give a rough example. If we have a vision for a specific journey in the product, to make it a very specific way in 12 months, because we have all the research to back that up and we have all the data to back that up. Once we actually have a plan to get there and the roadmap to get there, and maybe very initial like ideas or wireframes, something very low fidelity that people can like see, and then see the data that goes into that and see the research that goes into that, and they see this whole thing coming together, kind of it really encourages people, right? So when we say, okay, we want to be there in 12 months, so what are we doing now to be there in 12 months? This vision piece can actually shape how we move 2 months from now or 3 months from now. So I think it also makes everyone's lives a little bit easier.
Yes, I love the one about the enabler and vision. And that leads very nicely to our last question, which is, what's the best career advice you've ever been given?
So I have one career advice that I've been giving that I stick to every day. And I think a lot of people might have heard that. And yeah, but I still work by it day in, day out, which is basically the rule of thirds. It's like 1/3 of the time you should be cruising. You should be just enjoying what you're doing. And then the other third of the time, the second third of the time, you should be finding it a little bit challenging. Not really challenging, but you're pushing a little bit. And then the third is really, really challenging, like really hard to perform the thing. And I think there's a balance between all three. And I think thirds just works perfectly, because if you're always cruising, you're not pushing yourself enough. You're not taking on like enough challenges or trying to, challenge yourself doing different things or doing things in a different way. If you're always in this middle bit where it's like, it's a little bit challenging, but not too challenging, then you might be not progressing. And if it's always too challenging, then it's probably going to burn you out. And a balance of these three is really hard to strike. But this is why, like, at least for me, I've been trying to apply that to my career day in, day out since I started working. And I cannot say I still have a balance. Like sometimes I just feel like sometimes I'm cruising a little bit too much. Sometimes I'm finding it too difficult, a little bit too much. But yeah, always striving to find that balance, I think, keeps me level while I'm performing my job. It's called the rule of thirds. I guess it's pretty popular if anyone can like Google it. I think someone is going to articulate it a lot better than I'm articulating it right now.
No, I think you did a great job. The rule of thirds, you heard it here, maybe not first, but this is definitely the first time I've heard of it. So I'm definitely going to look it up and see how I can apply it to my everyday. So thank you again for being a guest.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for reaching out to me. I really enjoyed this. I've enjoyed our conversations. It was really nice.
Oh, yeah, no, I enjoy speaking to you as well. And until next time, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.